Kryptonians? It has been way too long since I've talked to you guys. Welcome back to the Superfan Show. Welcome back to my channel. Very excited to get back into the swing of things in terms of reviewing movies, TV shows, all that jazz. Did you guys miss me? You don't have to tell me right out if you missed me or not, but you know, a little positive reinforcement in the comment section never hurt anybody. We can get to all of that later. Right now, we are talking about Mortal Kombat! So Mortal Kombat is a new live-action martial arts movie that is based off of course, the very popular, very gory Mortal Kombat gaming franchise, the fighting games that we all know and love from way back in the days. This was released simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max, and it stars a host of pretty talented people. I mean, you got Lewis Tan, Jessica McNamee, I think is her name, Makad Brooks, Joe Taslim, and you've got Hiroyuki Sanada, I think is his name. There's a big tournament that has to be held where Outworld is trying to take over the Earth. The Earth realm has to present its challengers, its warriors, its champions, and they have to fight in this tournament called Mortal Kombat. If they win the tournament, they get to basically save Earth, and if they don't, well, then Earth now belongs to Outworld. But this movie's really not about that. It's really more about the shit that happens before the tournament, because it's really more about Shang Tsung getting together a bunch of evil warriors and sending them after Earth's champions to try to like take them out before the tournament takes place. In this film, you have a new protagonist, Cole, who is played by Lewis Tan, and he's an MMA fighter, and he has to hook up with the rest of Earth's champions, Sonya Blade, Jax, Kano to a certain degree, Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Lord Raiden, you know, the whole crew. He has to hook up with them to try to fight against these evil people that are coming to kill them because they're Earth's champions. I will say right off the bat, this movie is not without promise, and it's not without some things to like about it, you know? I mean, you can see a good movie hidden somewhere in this thing. It's a bad way to start off the positives for this movie because it sounds like I'm, you know, backhand complimenting the thing, which is not the case. I do have actual compliments to give this movie. For one thing, I like Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero is awesome. Bihan in this movie, played by Joe Taslim. Sub-Zero is the ultimate badass. He is the Terminator. He's the boogeyman in this movie. Pretty much any scene involving Sub-Zero or Scorpion is eggs on a 10. Okay, those guys and their fight scenes, their action sequences together, pretty awesome shit. Start of this movie is actually kind of brilliant because it kind of shows how the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero got started between these two warring ninja clans. And I thought all of that was leading us somewhere brilliant. And then, you know, the rest of the movie happened. Well, grant you though, Scorpion's not actually in the movie as much as Sub-Zero is, but when he's in it, oh, it's awesome. Mortal Kombat fans are used to the gore, they're used to the fatalities, they're used to a whole bunch of death and destruction, blood, guts hanging out, you know, that whole thing. And so this movie sort of delivers on that. The last Mortal Kombat movies that we got were in the 90s, and they were PG-13. So if you're a Mortal Kombat fan and you wanted a little bit more gore, a little bit more violence, a little bit more bones being broken for your butt, this movie has that for you. There are some pretty cool fatalities in this movie, some pretty cool kills. Being that I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan and I'm a huge fan of the games, therefore a huge fan of the lore and the storytelling and the world building that goes into Mortal Kombat, there's also some pretty cool Easter eggs, references, and some things that they set up in this movie where you're like, okay, but I'd be interested to see where this could go in a future movie. I'll also say Sonya, yeah, she's kind of hot, and Sonya and Jax are okay, I guess. Can I say that? I mean, yeah, that's definitely a backhanded compliment for what it's worth, but yeah, they were okay. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to stop me if you've heard this one before. There's a world of difference between potential and reality, and so the potential of this movie was probably somewhere up here. The reality of it's probably somewhere, I mean, I don't know where the sewage lines go, but you know, somewhere down in the earth. I left it kind of disappointed, honestly. In fact, if I compare this movie to like the 95 Mortal Kombat movie, I gotta say, I probably would enjoy watching that one more because most of the movie is actually centered around this protagonist named Cole. He's a new character just made up for this movie, which is perfectly fine. I don't mind a Mortal Kombat movie taking liberties or adding a new character, adding a new storyline. All that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, Lewis Tan is given absolutely nothing to work with as Cole, and he's just a very bland, uninteresting protagonist. He's a very boring hero. And if you're going to take away from Sub-Zero and Scorpion and that storyline, I just feel like you gotta come up with a character that's a little bit more interesting than Cole was in this movie. Not just Cole's fault, like everything else about the movie just feels very lifeless, very bland, very unappetizing, and it makes you think that the pacing of the movie is shit, despite the fact that the movie itself is only like, what, an hour and 40 minutes or something like that? Now, the corny and cheesy moments, you kind of accept that they're gonna be in the movie like this because you don't want the movie to take itself too seriously. It is, after all, a movie that is based on a video game. But at the same time, there is some really shitty dialogue and some really bad acting in this movie that definitely takes takes you out of each individual scene as you're progressing towards the end of the runtime. The chicken or the egg type of thing. Like, I'm not entirely sure if the dialogue is bad because of how the actors are delivering, or if the actors are being looked at as bad because of some of the shitty dialogue they're being forced to say. I'm not entirely sure. And because I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, I kind of have to blame both. The acting and the dialogue is just really bad stuff. The script alone for this movie, I'm not saying it has to be great, but holy shit, you gotta do better than what you came out in this movie with. To say the biggest problem that I have with this film is the fight sequences themselves, the action sequences, the bloody violence that we were promised. I feel like a lot of it felt watered down and neutered to a certain degree, even though we did get some pretty good fatalities. Now, you would look at the talent involved in this movie and you would say, okay, this is gonna be a pretty kick-ass martial arts movie, but unfortunately, it feels like a movie that was edited to be PG-13, even though it eventually turned out to be rated R. Even though there are violent kills in the movie, the actual fight sequences themselves don't have a lot of grit to them. And I also hate the way they were shot and edited. I hate that quick cut style of action, and I don't know why you would need to do it when you're trying to showcase great martial arts, but unfortunately, the fight choreography in this movie felt very stiff and awkward as a result, and the cuts did not help anything, and it just made everything feel unmemorable. The biggest crime that a Mortal Kombat movie can have is that the fight scenes feel uneventful. They feel unmemorable outside of like maybe 2 or 3, and most of those, like I said, involve Sub-Zero and Scorpion. You have lifeless characters and dialogue, you have lifeless fight scenes for the most part that are poorly edited and shot weird with bad choreography, or at least choreography that doesn't really feel as fluid as it needs to. Now, I do not hate the movie. I think it was fine. I think it delivered, it was okay. I was hoping for something good, and instead I got something kind of meh. Mortal Kombat was a very average martial arts movie. I'm gonna leave this one in the Fortress of Solitude. Guys, those are my thoughts on Mortal Kombat. If you have seen the movie, tell me, what did you think about the film? Give me your thoughts on it in the comment section below, and yeah, let me know if you missed me a little bit. It's okay, you can let that out, just a little bit. Stay tuned for more videos. I have a lot of other shit to get caught up on. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.